Hey guys, hey Dan. The show went amazingly well. Um, it was a little cold. We did tent camp overnight, and yeah, it was a good show. Busy, busy, busy. So, it was about time we won one. I haven't looked at the final count, but I think we sold about 25 dragons. A lot of kids are running around with dragons. So we've got 1 week left, and then we're gonna take a week off, shut everything down, and then we come back. Our next show is until September, but then we have one show in September, two shows in October, so we're gonna kind of be right back to where we were, making a whole bunch of spindles. So yeah, we're working on a new display. I'm gonna make risers for all the tables we have. We're changing our product type around quite a bit. So excited. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, Wisconsin has always been our best show. It's our hometown show, and we've always only had one booth. So now that we have two booths, we'll be able to spread out and get all the inventory in there. So yeah, I'm switching everything. I'm switching out our banners and our business cards. Try to be a little bit more grown up and not so goofy. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm going to be, well, I'm getting rid of all the AI stuff that I had. The people have spoken. So it's not a big deal. I was planning on getting rid of them anyways. We talked about this a couple months ago. So I threw away maybe 12 spindles, so it's not bad. And so I purposely didn't make any more of like the little AI keychains and stuff. I let them sell out, so, and the buttons, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I plan on working on some wooden yarn bowls. I'm gonna make them segmented. So that should be fun. Those wooden, all those like little wooden guys that I've been making, that was to see if they could replace some of the other stuff. And it looks like they sell okay. So I'm going to have Nosta pins, which they have not had in the past. They're just for ball winding. It basically looks like a broom handle. Yeah. Some of my top rows I had AI pictures. And then I made some buttons and pins and stuff. And I was looking, and honestly, if I would sell one more spindle, I wouldn't have to sell any of that stuff. So, and it'll be easier on me. So I think it'll be a win-win all the way around. Yeah, some of the gear ones. I could dig one out of the garbage. Yeah, so something like that. So unfortunately, it's glued in, and I can't remove this because I'm still going to make these. I'm just going to stick with photographs and then public domain stuff like old paintings, like Starry Night and that kind of stuff. Like I said, it'll just be easier on me in the long run. So the segmented bowls are going to be expensive because there's going to be a lot of time involved in them. But if that's what people want, that's what they'll get. Yep. Yeah, so I was planning on getting rid of that stuff anyways. And then when I got home, I saw somebody was complaining on Reddit about my business cards had a couple AI images on the back, and it was a thing. And I wasn't there. Nobody asked me anything, and it was just bad. I didn't sleep much last night. Really messed with me, so. Yes, bowls. Yarn bowls where you put your ball of yarn in, and then you can crochet or knit out of the bowl. So, rather than starting with a big solid piece, I'm going to use segmented. So it's going to be a bunch of different pieces of wood glued together in like a ring. So it'll be like white, then red, then white, then red, then white, then red. And then the next layer, everything's going to shift. So we'll do a few of those, see how they go. I'm also going to be making some wooden pens. I'm going to be ordering the kits today. I'm ordering a big buffing system. So that'll be good for the pens and the bowls. It is going to be a lot of work because you got to glue all the separate pieces and have them dry and then glue them all together. And then after that, you have to turn everything too. And then when you get done, so you have your bowl. And for the yarn bowls, you want a big flat base with some weight to it, so that you're not pulling it around. And then on the top, you're going to cut in pretty much a J shape. And typically you put a few holes in the side. So you run your yarn through here and then through the hole. So you're working out of the hole there. And you could put your knitting needles for storage in here, or you could run your yarn through this hole too. So there's a lot of work involved. So we'll see. I might do a segmented bowl where instead of cutting little trapezoids that go together to make the circle. I was impressed that I was drawing little trapezoids. And then you would cut the inside. You would cut the outsides off, take it, and then it'll be flat. It'll be a bowl. I could also start with pieces and then just stack full pieces together. It would save money, but it won't look as nice. So we're gonna play with that. I also gonna be making some dizzes, which are little discs that have different size holes in, and therefore, when you're working with a hackle, preparing your own fiber, you would pull it through that hole to define the thickness of the roving before you use it. Yes, yep. So it's going to be a shift from trying to accommodate to new people to trying to make some more expensive things, but still have the beginner spindles, but prices are going to have to come up. I haven't raised my prices in years. So I need to pay my bills either way, you know? I don't think I could. It's not that many. I was gonna attempt to close them out online, but the backlash is so big. Even though I'm getting rid of them, I'm just gonna have to toss them, and it hurts because there's a lot of time and a lot of effort involved in those. But you know, I could make wooden tops for the kids. I think that's probably a good idea. Something I can use scrap for, and yeah, it kind of sucks because the ones that are sublimated, there's a disc glued in, but I glued them in so, apparently it is a huge issue. I really didn't think it was that big of an issue, but it kind of lost its fun, so I've been kind of looking forward to not doing that. So it'll be one of those things where I'll have a number of people looking for something that I no longer make, and I'm going to have to apologize. You know, it's one of those things where, I'm trying to stay afloat. It's like, ugh, what are you going to do? So if you guys are still watching, we are cutting out Turkish-style drop spindles on the scroll saw today. Just kind of hanging out. Sorry about venting. I don't know. And the sad part is I made about, I don't know, between 10 and 20 images 2 years ago. And I haven't made any since then. But it's like I'm scared not to make them because, because I need as much help as I can get in today's economy. And honestly, the majority of the people don't care, but the few who do care bark really, really loud. I was so frustrated last night that I went on to Snyder Spindle's YouTube page and I deleted all the videos I had on there. I've been planning on redoing some tutorial videos anyway. So it was a good show. Yay! I had to replace my air mattress. Yay! So I was supposed to have electricity, but I didn't have electricity, so I had to carry my air mattress to the nearest outlet. And when I was putting it back in the tent, it got caught on a stake and put a big hole in it. So like, I'll just patch it. But the patch I had was old and it wouldn't stick. So I'm like, I'll just get a patch from Walmart. Well, they didn't sell any, so I ended up buying a different little mattress. But I slept better on that little stupid mattress than I ever slept on my big nice one. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise. As of right now, I think I have to push it until after Christmas. Hey, Ollie, welcome in. How's it going? So I still have inventory um, for the websites. So I have a bunch of the exotic wood stuff already cut out. So I'll put some of those online, and we're gonna have a sale. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Kind of frees me up to work on the stuff we need to make, and we'll go from there. Yeah, so we pretty much we ran out of our maple and walnut, our maple and cherry standards. We had a few walnut standards left at the end of the show, but so we'll get some maple and cherry ones made up right away. So the pens that I plan on making, I do have some acrylic that I've had for years, but the majority will be exotic woods. Right now I'm just looking at slimline pens. Um, So right, they'll be slimline, so they'll be ball points. I would like to do fountain pens, but the kits are like $18 each. So by the time you get your money, they're just way, way expensive. And that's really not kind of my thing. So yeah, so when I buy a piece of wood, of the exotic woods, they're twist. I have a couple. Let's see. Pretty sure I have some in a box. Of course, it's gonna be digging through a bin, but it makes for good live streams. So, like this. This is that yaya wood. So yeah, I've got a buffing system in my cart right now. Yeah. And I'm going to buy a glass case to put them in. I've had people like ask for pens that nobody else has touched. So I guess we're getting fancy and they're going to go in a glass case and no touchy. Have a couple laying out, but the rest all in the cases. We'll see how that goes. Yep, so those have a CA finish on them. So after you're done sanding the wood, you put layers and layers of super glue on it. And then you take them and then you sand the sand super glue with you wet sand it to a mere finish. But I'm going to be buying a buffing wheel. I'm going to buy some Duramax wood. Is that what it is? Dura something. Where it's resin impregnated. So the resin impregnated stuff, you have to polish. So I will polish those and they will be shiny. And people will spend more money because they're shiny. Do I have a machine to be able to personalize? Yeah, I've got a couple laser engravers. I could put names on them or what have you. I could also cut, on the scroll saw, cut the blanks, cut a picture on the blanks, and then fill it, then turn it. Yeah, that's true. Yes, but they didn't put the ceiling back in, so which I guess is probably for the best for it. So I can show you where the shack pipe is. But yeah, at least it's not leaking. I've got my equipment put back, so I could probably get back on the lathes. Yeah, so, we got back Sunday night. Monday morning, we came in, we unloaded, I unpacked everything. Vicky got the stores going back. And then I started just reorganizing and moving stuff around, and nothing too exciting. Yep, so yeah, there's no water this all day yesterday, no water this morning, so I could put my my anti-fatigue mats back down. Today we got Ghost Brothers. Yeah, so I'm not able to get my 4 monitors going because I need to get a longer HDMI cable now that I rerouted all the cables. But I do have it on one camera, on one monitor, so I can watch it while I'm working. I put the wireless on it, so. It's primarily just background noise. I am neurodivergent, so having stuff going on in the background does help me concentrate on what I'm doing. I know it seems crazy, but that's just the way it works. So, people who are new to this stream, I'll show you my monitor situation. So yeah, so that right there, normally would have the chat on, but so we have it playing there, and then over by the laser engraver, it's playing the sanding station, the layout station, and then the lathe. So mainly they're there for streaming, so we can see the conversations and such when we run the full streaming software. This is just the phone. So I'm actually monitoring everything on the phone. And it's actually a prepaid phone that does not have service. So I don't get interrupted by my normal phone. Actually, this phone here was actually a T-Mobile phone that I had to get a deal on the internet that didn't work out for me. And then they wouldn't take the phone back, and then they made me pay for it. So this is like a $280 streaming device now. Life is good. So if you guys need me to stream, my name is Scott. I like to make stuff. I do make videos, tutorial videos for beginner woodworking projects with the scroll saw and the lathe, that kind of stuff. This is my day job. I figure since I'm working, making spindles, you might as well hang out with me. When I get back next week, I plan to start making some recorded videos, maybe once every week, week and a half. It's a time thing. You know, I like doing it, but honestly, it's such a niche thing that, you know, it'll never be profitable to do it, but I enjoy doing it. So. You know, I'm hoping to build this channel up enough to pay for the internet in the shop. I'm about a third of the way there right now, so. Yeah, I can't complain. You know, I really love what I do. So, how's everybody else doing today? I'm sorry, I'm awfully quiet today. So this is a scroll saw. This is a Pegasus. It's a 21-inch scroll saw, which means between the blade and the back of the saw is 21 inches. So you could take a 21-inch board and cut it all the way through. Well, you know, this saw will only give you a Band-Aid cut, but you really don't want to get cut either. You know, bad things happen when I think about what I'm doing. I just have to do it. So now I'm just verifying that the holes are centered, which they are. So we have a few to cut out yet. We'll probably be over here for probably about the next half hour. Then we'll go make some shafts on the scroll saw. This is cherry. So when I buy it from the mill, it's called red cherry. This is their premium cherry. So this cherry has a very constant color. So you get that nice orangey cherry color. If you buy cheap cherry, a lot of it will be pretty white. When you start getting into the sapwood. So when I go to the mill, I buy the red cherry and the white maple. It just has more. Here's a piece of the maple. It's just a much brighter color than some of the other wood is. Yeah, so we put blue painter's tape down and then put our patterns on top. That way, we can peel the pattern off, then we don't have any residual adhesive to deal with. Some people like using shelf lining paper, which works fine. Some people will use like packing tape, which also works. Some people use masking tape. I don't use masking tape because normal masking tape is very similar to maple or birch. So there's it against birch. So sometimes you won't be able to see it, and then you go to sand and it makes a big mess. This way the blue painter's tape just sticks out like a sore thumb. And these have been sitting around for a couple weeks, so the tape doesn't come off as easy as the newer stuff. Hello, Dennis, how's it going? Welcome in. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So Vicky is currently doing the layout and drilling the center hole right now. When I'm done cutting this one, she might be done by then. I might point the camera at her so I can run and grab some coffee. The coffee's getting a little cold. So yeah, the really big benefit of the scroll saw is that you can make internal cuts. Oh yeah, yes we do. Let's go look at the tiger maple we have. So our wood supply is a little bit bleak right now because we just got ready for 3 shows. But yeah, we've got some really pretty tiger maple here. That piece is amazing. We also have it in 1/2 inch. And we got some bird's eye maple. A little hard to see, but they are spread all throughout there. And then some exotic woods as well. So yeah, so the stuff I make is so small that when I find any tiger maple, the stripes have to be pretty densely packed. Otherwise, it's not going to show up. Same with the bird's eye. It needs a lot of bird's eyes. Yep, I'm going to be making pens out of those. Yep, I'm ordering pen kits again. Probably today or tomorrow. So we're just gonna do slim lines and then see how those go over, and maybe add some more expensive ones. But I really don't want to be selling, $50 pens. That's not really my thing. Oh, I bet it should. All right. So now we're to that maple. I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to drill the pilot holes. They're actually entry holes. So this is 5/8 inch hard maple. So those little wooden friends I make are going to be made out of this piece right here. Hey Gene, how's it going? Alrighty. So, nothing is more exciting than drilling holes. Oh yeah, try to use as much as possible. So this drill press is very old. The quill spring broke in it probably 5, 6 years ago. So it doesn't automatically spring up on its own. So, yeah, that's probably 15, 16 years old. But yeah, Vicky's drill press is a little nicer. I mean, it's kind of hard to see. But her hole is way more crucial than mine. So, yeah, mine doesn't have to be very exact. So yeah, so these are standards, and then these two pieces here are the deco spindles. So these two pieces are one spindle, and they're next to each other. I'm sorry, there's a lot of just breaking down. So it's easier, when you got bite-sized pieces. It's like eating an elephant, it's one bite at a time. Grab a piece of wood. Actually, I'm going to grab a table. I normally have a little table next to me when I'm doing this, but but it wasn't a well thought out plan this morning. All right. So now I have a little card table that I set stuff on. So you can see we get a very nice finish right off the saw. So scroll saws are never the fastest saw you can use, but they leave a nice finish. If I would zoop out the outsides on a bandsaw, they'd be a little bit rougher. Take more time to sand. I've been using this blade for an hour. Time to swap her out. It's getting a little dull. So we'll do a check and make sure that we are still cutting square, which we are. I can't complain about that. So today we're using a number 7 blade. These are made by Olson. These are Olson precision ground tooth blades. So it's a double skip tooth. So it will have 2 teeth and then a big gullet, and then 2 teeth and a big gullet. So the gullet's about the size of 2 teeth. So 2 teeth, skip, 2 teeth, skip. It is a reverse tooth blade, which means the bottom cuts up and the rest of the blade cuts down. So the reason for having the missing teeth and all the gullets, it gives the sawdust a place to go. So it helps it cut more efficiently. I use a bunch of different brands of blades. I'm really not blade specific. But yeah, these are nice blades for this purpose. So it is raining today. It's been a lot of rain here. Showers are supposed to happen in April. We're supposed to be getting May flowers right now. Come on. Got anything to go with 3D printers? Yeah, we're making nitty natties. I think I have to switch them over. Then we'll freshen up this coffee. Yeah, so I sold a bunch of 1-yard nitty natties. So let me wipe off the lens here. So those two go together. Print again. Next. We're going to use the 4th roll of filament. The blue. Print. Going to get an error about using the wrong nozzle. Not sure why that popped up. All right, and then this one failed to pull back. This AMS, I need to change out the tubes on the inside. So give me a second here. So I got to stand if I don't zoom out. There we go. So I'm going to pull out this jam and try again. Not a big deal. All right. So we have like 10 different colors. So there we go. That's there they are on the rack. Yeah, these printers are dialed in. It's taken quite a bit to get there. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. All right, we have coffee. That's the important part. So there's the holder that we use when we're cutting on the saw. It goes up here and it attaches to this pole. This was an experiment to see if it would work, and it did. So I never made anything better. But yeah, it's just a big metal pole, and there's just a wedge that wedges everything in. So I have my lathe cameras running out of the wall as well, so you don't get vibration off the floor. So I bought some butterbeer coffee creamer. It's beautiful stuff. Exactly. It's not broke, don't fix it. And I made it from pine that was left after in this workshop when I moved in. So it cost me absolutely nothing to mount it. Hi, Biak. I'm just going to call you Heritage. Welcome in. Yep, so today we are cutting out Turkish spindles that are used to spin yarn. I'm still kind of all feeling hungover from having a show this weekend in Minnesota. So we survived our three shows in a row. And we are a very silent bunch. Yep. So we're just cutting mortises in the center there. So we're making Turkish drop spindles that are used for spinning yarn. So we're cutting up the arms right now. In a little bit we'll go onto the lathe to cut out the shafts. So here's an example of one that's done. This is a recoff, it's a smaller one. And this is one that I use an example that I've spun up. So that's what we're making. If you guys could do me a favor and just double click on the screen, that will help get some more people in here. If not, no biggie. We'll double check. So I think we're going to cut out one more, and then we're going to hop over on the lathe. Uh-oh.
Security code.
What's that?
Security code from your bank again. Tired of it.
Well, I didn't. Gonna have to grab the phone over here. That's winking. All right, sorry about that. We'll finish cutting up this one, and then we'll go hop on the lathe. All right, I'm going to move these over to the lathe, and we'll get cutting. Turning. All right. Oh, that one is not good. That one is much gooder. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Oh, I am doing okay. We finished up our shows for the month. Got a little breathing room. Got some coffee. Life is good. I'm just going to freshen up these lines. Now let's make some wood chips. The first two shows were a little bit of bummers. The last show, the one we just got back from, was awesome. But I've been to that show before, so I kind of knew what we were looking at. So Minnesota was a little chilly. We tent camped. So we decided next year we're getting a hotel. Well, you know, it was kind of throwing your hat in the ring for a couple of them. I mean, I made money at all of them. But, you know, basically breaking even really doesn't help. And, you know, we got a break until September. The next show is my biggest show. And normally we only had one booth. Now we were able to get 2 booths. So I'm going to change the whole setup. I'm redoing everything. Changing what I'm selling as well. Adding some different things. It should be good. Yeah, you know, the first show, the alpaca show, it isn't really my venue. The people are showing up aren't fiber artists. They're people that brought their kids to look at alpaca, or they're alpaca people who show alpaca. So for that, I brought a lot of little things. I made a whole bunch of little wooden toys for that show. And, you know, the 3D printed dragon sold. So sometimes you have to bring things that you really don't have much feeling for. Well, the problem with camping was it got down in the 30s overnight. So it was a little chilly. So we always camp in September at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. We camped the last 2 years in Minnesota, but I think we're done. The fairgrounds doubled the prices. So it's getting close to just getting a hotel room. If I pay twice as much, I'll have my own shower and my own bed and television. The animals I sold, I sold a lot of them. For some reasons, the little the raccoons with coffee, those sold out. So certain things were more popular than others. I think I probably have about 15 or 20 left, and I think I started at about 60. So, right, it's fine until you have to get up and walk to the bathroom. Yeah, we had two big comforters, and it was fine. So normally at shows I wear kilts and goofy shirts, and this show is just jeans and a sweatshirt because it's chilly out. And we actually packed sleep masks for the first time. Which is kind of nice. Okay, we got vibration in this one, unfortunately. So we'll try that again. More utility kilts. So no wrap. They have a waistband. I think I'm pretty much kilted out. We'll see. Yes, kilts. Alright, I'm gonna switch out my sandpaper. So my sandpaper starts out in squares, and I will take an old scroll saw blade and just cut the whole pack in half to get the strips the size I want. Which works out great, except for when Vicky decides to go over and try to cut a piece of wood on the saw that I just used to cut sandpaper. Oh, I forgot to show you guys the ceiling. So this is the ceiling above my lathe now. So luckily it was leaking from the bathtub over there and not from that pipe right there. it's repaired. I rent this place. It was bad enough that I cut out the buckled floor and made a patch for that. That was enough. So more than likely, it's gonna be like that for who knows how long. Yep, the subfloor fully dried. My patch could be a little bit bigger, but I have mats over it. So I will have mats over it. But yeah, this subfloor was soaked. So it was just the drain for the bathtub. So apparently they take really, really, really long showers. Because I put that 35-gallon garbage can down. And then went to a show for the weekend and came back. And over the weekend there was 9 inches of water in that thing. So it was probably about, 8 to 10 gallons. And before that, if that's what happened when I was gone, I mean, it's a lot of water on the floor. So I was sending pictures to my landlord. I'm like, dude, it's leaking, it's bad. But it was only when they used the bathtub, so I ended up staying overnight here. I slept here, and at about 12:30 a.m., somebody decided to drain the bathtub. And it got on video how bad it was leaking and how aggressive it was. And then I caught them in the morning as well, and I took a video of that to send to the landlord. And then he kind of stepped up and said, oh, somebody's going to be there hopefully on Friday. So I worked around it as best I could. I'm trying to save this building as best I can. And the reason that I cut the floor where it buckled and I didn't even ask him, this floor is full of patches. So it's not like, I'm renting this apartment, I'm going to cut the floor apart. No, This place would cost way too much money to fix up for its location, so. Yeah, leaks are not fun, not at all. And you gotta hop on them too. I mean, if I was away for a week, it came back and it was leaking that whole week, that would have been, a huge deal. The building was built in 1900, so it's 126 years old. So, the ceilings, there's a lot of the original tin on the ceilings, but it was painted over multiple times and all the paint's falling off. And, for me, it's a workshop. I don't have, customers in here. And it was they had a woodworking business in here a few years back. So when I was growing up, this building was a silk screening shop. So like all the t-shirts and everything we got for like band and chorus and football or whatever came out of this building. So there's ink and portions of the floor. You can see where they had the carousels for not inkjet, for screen printing. And in the bottom, there's a fuel oil drum down there that they have all cut apart that they would spray water into to rinse out the screens. So there's like the whole back of that, the wall behind it is all like green from the emulsion. And I did find in the basement a couple silk screens. One says Syracuse, and there was a couple numbers. Yeah, there was always apartments upstairs. So they did fix up the upstairs. I assume originally there was probably one apartment upstairs that the owners of the grocery store lived in. No, I don't think they had PVC 126 years ago. Actually, there was probably no plumbing in here at all. It's a brick building. It's like the classic old downtown buildings where they're all stacked next to each other. So it's all brick. So all the electrical is run externally. So we got a whole bunch of metal piping against the walls, which is, what you do. So I do have pictures of this building from, I think, like 1912. But if you come to the front here, we got these two big double doors. But if you look at the ceiling, you can see that cutout there. So originally there were glass, the front would have been all glass, and then they would have glass angled, and then a single door. So that's where the door would have been. So that cement pad underneath, it looks like there's almost like a chimney. So there's supports built around that. So that would have been outside. So they kind of put the walls all in. So yeah, I'm sure that printer messed up. All right, I'm gonna have to redo that one more time. And then I just have to use a different slot in the AMS for the next one. So it is loading. Right. It's for what I do, it's just amazing. I mean, hey, you always need your shop piano, to drive ghosts crazy. So now I'm just kind of waiting to see if it's going to start coming out the nozzle or if it jammed again. Oh, since I'm here, I could show you the basement. So, best part about the workshop also, you need a large pickle rick. So there does tend to be some moisture down here, but it's an old building, so I've brought down pallets to put stuff on. But I do a lot of staining down here. So yeah, that's the oil drum that I was talking about that they cut out, and you can see the emulsion all across the back. So, but you know, the furnace is newer and everything is pretty stable. So yeah, if we go back here to where that leak was, so we got a cistern. It's empty, it doesn't go to anything. But yeah, so that's the remnants of the leak. The subfloor doesn't look too bad. You know, new water heater in 23. So yeah, all the gas has been replumbed recently, you know. Everything's been brought up to code, so they actually replaced, I don't know, about 6 months ago, maybe longer. It had a lead pipe coming in here, so they actually replaced the lead pipe, and everything else is all copper, and then the newer stuff is PEX. So hopefully we're not consuming much lead these days. You know, the lead pipes aren't an issue until you start messing with them. So when they replaced it, they gave us a 0 water filter. They inspect it yearly. So the gas people come in and check all the piping, and yeah, they come in here. I mean, I'm lucky enough that this closet here has a dryer vent cut in the wall. So that's where I vent all my laser engravers. So there's actually washer and dryer hookups in here. So it makes sense because it was a screen printing business. So sometimes you gotta wash and dry stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty tight squeeze. So, you know, and then we have 2 unheated rooms in the back. So we were back in this one before. So this is where I store my boxes, and that's our wood supply. Everything is kind of disorganized right now. And then we have a room in the back here, which I need to go through and clean again. But yeah, it's got the camping stuff in, and I don't know. As far as the workspace goes, this is just amazing. I'm very blessed. So yeah, that's the patch. And I normally have some anti-fatigue mats over there, but I'm kind of waiting to see what happens. All right, we'll see you later. Yeah, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be on. So, we'll see. Trying to get through my day today. Yeah, so today is kind of like take it easy. We'll probably do about a half day because we've been working every weekend and we haven't had a day off in almost a month. So wicked. Oh, my lathe got soaked. There's still a little bit of rust here and there. The lathe was just freaking horrible. I have a picture. Hang on. Yeah, so I came into this. So yeah, not good. So yeah, my tooling. I need to get some steel wool. Just buff that out. So yeah, that was bad. So yeah, there's a video of it leaking. So that kind of leak doesn't take long to destroy the floor. And, you know, they get free water, so they take nice, long showers. Yeah, we got something going on with this one. Just a small one. Yeah, so the grain on this is nutty. So, yeah. Instead of the grain going this way, it was going this way. So as far as them not putting the ceiling back, I could care less. It's just going to be louder for the upstairs neighbors, that's all. You know, it always, it never fails. You know, when you're super busy, that's when stuff happens. You know, if it could have waited another 2 weeks, I would have been here, you know. I assume the landlord doesn't think I spend any time here because every time something happens, I'm out of state. When they replaced the water lines, I was in Texas. Like, well, you're gonna have to get the keys to whoever's coming in because I can't do it. So, like I said earlier, we're going to have a little bit of time now. So I'm going to redo my entire setup. I'm gonna make risers for all my folding tables. Because right now they're at a sitting height. I want to get them up to a standing height. I was worried if I raised them up that they would be too tall for people in wheelchairs. But I don't really think that's the case. I think it'll be alright. And it might prevent little kids from grabbing stuff and having sword fights with them. Yeah, I'm hoping tomorrow I will have a little bit more energy, guys. I'm sorry I'm so quiet. Today is kind of like a take it easy sort of day. So I find that any rainy weather or coldness warps the wood much. I really haven't had a lot of issues with that. The wood I buy is already kiln dried. So, I mean, there's going to be a little bit here and there, but it hasn't been bad. I'll take things from the outside, bring it in, and let them acclimate before I start using them in the winter. Yeah, so we've been in this workspace for a year and a half. We have a 3-year lease. So as long as he doesn't jack the rent up too much, I see us staying here for another 3 years. we get close to the end of our lease, we are going to be going into show mode and making enough product for a few months ahead of time. That way, if we decide to leave, we have a cushion. And then we might be moving out of Wisconsin. So it's kind of dependent on this workshop. He hasn't been bad. If there's an issue, it's never a one-time thing. I do have to ride his ass, but it's kind of protecting his investment. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, there's water leaking through the ceiling. Can you come fix it? Honestly, he was like a super nice guy, very curious in what we did. And then I noticed he was wearing a car dealership shirt, so I think he's also a car dealer. So I have not physically seen him in a year and a half. I text him, he texts me. You know, when I came in Monday morning and saw the ceiling was all ripped apart, I wrote him and asked him, you know, before I move everything back, are there plans to put the ceiling back, or should I wait? And he never wrote me back, so I'll probably hear back from him in a week. You know, if I was in a bigger city that had actual, you know, foot traffic and customers and stuff, you know, the rent would be a lot more. But this is just a little rundown old town. That if it wasn't for the bars and the public library, there wouldn't be anything in here. Hey, Lori, how's it going? Thank you. It's good to be back. Yeah, so today and tomorrow are probably going to be about half days. Just because we've had no downtime for like 3 weeks. And then we're going to go down to South Carolina for a week. And then we're going to be right back at it until September. So I am pretty excited. The 16th is our village-wide rummage sale. And every 2 years they have large waste pickup. So You can't have anything out till the 17th. So you have your rummage sale, and then the day after they have large waste pickup where you can put it out. And then the 18th and 19th and 20th they're picking up. So they don't want anything on the curb during the citywide rummage sale, but the day after you can. So it's kind of perfect for people having rummage sales. They can try to sell their big bulky items, and if they don't sell, they'll just throw them on the curb. So I had my washing machine go out a couple months ago. So I threw it in one of the bedrooms. So I could get a couple bucks if I would drag it all the way to the recycling place. But the city uses the money they make from the recycling to help pay for the pickup. So I'd rather just throw it on the curb. There's probably about a 90% chance that some junker's going to come through and take it. But, maybe not. Yeah, so I got a washer and dryer. I've got a... When the kid left, he left all his garbage, and he doesn't want it, so I've got a desk and a love seat and a bed to get rid of, so it'll be nice to make room for that, clear all that out. So we can get rid of the big bulky stuff and then hopefully fix up the bedrooms and go from there. Excuse me. Is there a lot of people where I am? Hang on a second. What's the population? So this town here is between 55 and 6,500. What? 556? What? It's about 5,500 people. No, we're in North Fond du Lac, so we're north of Fond du Lac. Fond du Lac kind of butts up, and I think they're like 60,000 people. 40 something? Okay. So Fond du Lac is 4 times as big as this little town. So I can show you why this building exists. Hopefully we can see it from the window. Yeah, there's a lot of farmland around here. But the reason this town is here, I don't know if you can't really see, but right back there, I'm gonna lose I'm on Wi-Fi. But if I can get over just a little bit. So back there is a train yard. So yeah, you can see how busy this area is. That used to be a bar that closed. That was a bakery that closed. That was a head shop that closed. That's a bank that closed. And it just goes on from there. So yeah, I grew up in the country about, 4 miles north of here. So yeah, that's the only reason the town here is the railroad put a train yard in here. So they did all the switching, and they did switching here, and then there was a repair place where they fixed all the cars. So outside of these huge warehouse buildings, they have a big turnstile so they can take the cars and put them into different parts of the building. So it used to be Wisconsin Central, and then it got bought out by Canadian National. Unfortunately, I'm not a train nut. Like train spotters, you catch every once in a while. For some reason, they know when a special engine is coming in for repair, or a special car. Or every once in a while, I see people with big cameras taking pictures of trains going by. So to try to kind of put the train yard into perspective, there are steam pits that we used to ride our bicycles up and down. So they made these big holes in the ground for the steam for the locomotives to go. So yeah, I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. They all moved away. And then, I pretty much stayed in the area. And then my mom had dementia. So we're kind of staying put for that. She's been gone for a couple of years now. So, there's nothing really keeping us here. Yes, everything's diesel powered now, but when they built it, it was all steam. Yeah, they're all big diesel electrics, just like everywhere else. So the crossroad that I lived on that goes over the tracks is a couple miles past where they switch, and they would be switching and blocking the road constantly. And it was I don't know, 6 or 7 miles to get an overpass to get around the train. It is a very low crime area. The next city over, the bigger city, has a drug problem. Yeah, we've had a lot of problems with heroin. The next town over, but yeah, a couple years back, somebody who lived close to where I lived got evicted and got pissed off. So they decided to drive through and shoot some guns off. So that was the biggest crime thing I've dealt with. really recently, some of the grocery store parking lots are being filled with really, really, really old RVs. So we're starting to get more homeless people up here than when I was growing up. But yeah, not a whole lot. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm in Wisconsin and I'm not a big drinker, so yeah, I couldn't tell you what the bar crowds look like. And I'm sure the bars that are like less than a block away from here are full of old people because the younger people would be going to clubs. So yeah, I graduated from this town, and in my whole school there was one Hispanic family and one black family, and it's gotten much better now. There's a lot more. It's not just a bunch of white people anymore, which is a good thing. Well, I really don't socialize with people, so I drove by where I grew up yesterday. We sold it about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and yeah, it's like there's no reason for me to go out there anymore. So there's just a bunch of junk everywhere now, which isn't bad. It's their house; they can do what they want. Yeah. So the area I live in is very Republican. A lot of farmers are willing to shoot themselves in the foot. I'm very outnumbered. Yeah, so around here, most of the crops are either corn or soybeans. There's a little farm that does winter wheat, which, they have to put out big signs telling snowmobilists to not ride across their field because they got crops planted in there. A lot of hay. So the soil here is clay. You get a couple feet of topsoil, like a foot and a half of topsoil, and then it's clay. So we don't need irrigation. If you get a little bit north of here, it starts getting really sandy. And then you'll see the big irrigation where all the fields are circular. Lots of dairy cows. Doesn't give you the creepy Children of the Corn vibes when you pass the fields. No, but when you pass the fields with corn in, it's like you have one eye like in the ditch because we have a lot of white-tailed deer, and they do not like cars coming. If they're in the road, they'll just stop and look at you because they get like mesmerized by the light. But if they're like down in the field and you're coming, it's almost like they see the light like chasing up on them, so they kind of freak out. And I would prefer not to have to file an insurance claim. It's not bad when there's corn on one side of the road, but when you have corn on both sides of the road, you really got to keep your eyes open. So yeah, on the way to Michigan, on the way to Minnesota, we had a wolf run across the road pretty close to us, which is really nice to see. The wolf population here was decimated. They have been releasing wolves over the last few years. I do not hunt. My family hunts. It's just never been my thing. I pushed a lot of fields. So I'd be the guy in the cornfield making a bunch of noise to try to push the deer out, which wasn't bad during gun season, because at least the people that are hunting are wearing blaze orange. But during bow and arrow, during bow season, they're wearing camouflage and you can't see the person. So it's like, ew. I did a lot of processing growing up. No issues with that. It's just, it's never been my thing. My oldest son and daughter, they both went through hunter safety. So I went through hunter safety like 3 times because, it's something you did with your kid. It's very, very stressed on, you never point a gun at anything you don't plan on killing. It's all about, don't point your gun at things. I do enjoy fishing, though. But I'm not anti-hunting. You have to control the populations. We have issues with chronic wasting disease with the deer around here. And that's just because there's too many deer. So. So I grew up on like a hobby farm. We had chickens, ducks, geese, pigs, pheasants. Lots of chickens, ducks, geese. Not all at the same time. Rabbits. Raised rabbits for quite a few years as well. So we raised our own animals. We had a lot of gardening. We did a lot of canning. Actually, my father, he worked in a stone quarry for, I want to say 30 years. So when he was in the Army, when he got drafted, he got sent to Colorado or Arizona, where he was working on unmanned aircraft. So he was working on drones during the Vietnam War. So before I can remember, he did a bunch of construction stuff. So very blue collar. But, you know, he did some woodworking, so I was never, he would refuse to get a lathe because lathes were way too dangerous. But he would use an old rusty table saw with no guards on. So. Well, he had all his fingers and toes, so I guess he won. So I was kid number 4 of 5. So there was a lot of pushback from my family when I first started doing this. Just because they were looking out for me, you know. they're just looking out for me. What did they do? Well, let's see. Well, my father, didn't go to college. He went to the army and then worked in factories and, well, worked construction and then worked in a stone quarry. My mom was a nurse, which she gave up to raise the kids. My eldest brother is a chemical engineer. My eldest sister was a social worker, and she became a stay-at-home mom. She works part-time at a school. And my other sister is a registered nurse. And then my little brother works for a county. I can't think of what his degree was, but it has to do with permits for water and sewage and that sort of thing. Oh, and my older brother, he's a chemical engineer in paper science, so he makes paper. And my little brother, he works in an office setting now, but for a while, he was inspecting things. So I'm the only one in my family that was not able to graduate from college. Oh, I'm not complaining at all. There's not a lot of people who would want to do what I'm doing, and that's understandable. I love working with my hands. That's what I do. I get hyper focused on things. I was just kind of built for this. So I'm very lucky that I have an emotional support Mickey. It's a different kind of stress. Oh, I absolutely love what I do. I probably said this 100 times on stream, but I worked in factories for 18 plus years. Was not really stimulating. We'll put it that way. Yes, everybody needs an emotional support, Vicky. Who would have thought that, in my 50s, I would be live streaming, making spindles, and entertaining 8 people. And life does move in mysterious ways. So, give me 1 second. To kind of put things into perspective as far as live streaming goes, the whole YouTube channel, this spindle is more money than I make in a month doing this. But it's never been about the money. Yeah, I enjoy what I do, It's like, yeah, the live streaming is just kind of me being selfish to keep me working. But, as far as, doing review videos or doing demos, it's about giving back. I mean, you guys kept me working for, 2 hours and 43 minutes already. Much appreciated, by the way. Right? Well, the good part is that I do have a shirt on, so so unfortunately, I think I'm going to finish up this one, and then I'm going to go. I didn't realize how late it was. I should probably get some lunch in me. So yeah, I would like to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next time. There we go. All right, have a great day, guys. And thank you guys so much. And remember, just be nice to people. It's not that hard, you know. Grr. Have a good day, guys.